Hello, watch lovers. While I was away on business in Shanghai, China, didn't have any intentions of buying a watch, but conditions of the day were such that serendipitously I was walking on the street and I spotted the very boutique that sold this particular watch. So I thought, why not do a video for you all? So the watch in question today is Shanghai, China's oldest watch company, even beyond that of the Tianjin watch factory. If you haven't seen that video, go and check that out. It's pretty cool. Some call it the Chinese Rolex. Other urban myths were basically you wouldn't find a bride if you weren't wearing a Shanghai watch. So there's all these saying about this particular watch. And if you're sort of Chinese and you're sort of old enough to know this brand, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're not, believe me, this was the must-get watch of the time. So it's fell off the radar for some time because the Swiss industry has sucked so much energy out of it, and the Japanese have sucked so much energy out of the conversation that I, as a watch lover, have forgotten my origin story of how I came across this brand when I was a child. So I was in business in Shanghai, I was walking on the street, it was hot, humid, and suffocating. And I was walking from appointment to appointment. I think I would have almost gotten heat stroke. And I stopped at the lights and my peripherals picked up the very logo that is on the dial of this watch. So across the road, went in there, aircon, and there was no one in the shop because it was a very little boutique. And I quickly was looking at all of the pieces and what have you, and they got all these different styles of watches, right? From the usual sort of suspects of trying to copy other brands to these very elaborate decorated dials, which was worth upwards of over 10, 15, somewhere even 20,000 US dollars and beyond, because it had tourbillons and all that sort of stuff in there. And the cheapest watch in there was maybe was only a couple $100. So that sort of gives you the randomness of this particular watch brand. So I'm looking at all the watches, nothing really attracted me too much because most of them were over 40 millimeters. But then I had this little counter and I had this beautiful 65-year anniversary. And amongst it, there was a few timepieces, and this was one of them. The model number of this particular watch was 510-5. And I paid 2,680 RMB. That is just about $500 Australian. If you're someone who likes to collect watches outside of the usual suspects of Japs and Swiss and so forth, Shanghai Watch has to be on the top of that list. Shanghai Watch Company got its notoriety because the premier of China at the time, Zhou Enlai, wore the watch. He was a massive fan of this watch. We're talking at a time where people probably were making $40, $50, maybe $60 a month. And this watch was probably costing $150. It was a lot of money, and that was why it was considered the Chinese Rolex. Straight away, I knew it was a 36, and you guys know I love 36 mils. Secondly, it's a true reissue of a particular vintage watch. It's got this beautiful champagne / off-white type of dial, and the hour and minute hands are sort of this gold sort of patina. It's got that very much retro-esque vampire teeth, or the wooden stake that you will grab to kill a vampire. That's very reminiscent of the time.
No!
The latest release by Omega, the Aquaterra, has the exact same style of markers because it is really that retro feel of the time. Date window is beautifully framed, sweeping secondhand, has its tip painted in red. Everything is just done with such beautiful balance. This particular logo is another iteration of the logo compared to the one that's actually on the box. I believe the one on the dial was the original watch logo of the Shanghai watch. Then they moved away from it to this italic style of writing of the Shanghai in Chinese characters. And then for the reissue, they obviously went back to the OG. I personally like the OG because it's got the two characters which signifies Shanghai displayed in such a way that it looks like a triangle. And I thought that's a really unique way of branding two Chinese characters, because not many other things are written like this. It caught my attention because I remember that to be associated with something I knew. Had it just had this particular logo on it, I would have just missed it. Underneath it, they got 中国 Shanghai, which is China, Shanghai, and underneath 17 jewels. I can't really fault the balance of the dial in terms of what they've written and so forth. I don't think it's overdone. I think they could fine tune it a bit, but again, it's a $500 watch, okay? The leather band is 18 millimeters. Why do I know? Because I always appreciate when they have a beautiful leather strap that actually has its size on it, right? Instead of you needing to grab a ruler or one of those measurement things and trying to work out what your strap size is. Now, straight away, I know it's 18. If I was to go get watch straps, I know exactly what to get, right? There's no guesswork. I've sort of put this particular watch strap and I just thought, how great would this green go with the champagne dial? It'd be super easy to change. I think it's just a couple of pins there, little spring-loaded pins. And because of the price point, you're not going to be worrying about scratching the case and so forth. It's got Shanghai etched on the crown. It's their own in-house made movement. I haven't opened it up because I probably wouldn't do that. I'm not that much of a pro, but it's a hand-wind movement, true to the heritage of this particular reissue. And it's an acrylic crystal, AKA plastic, but it's heavily domed, which again, brings that nostalgia back. But even with the dome, the watch is super, super thin, right? And it's just such an elegant watch. Like, you put this watch on and you wear it under the cuff with a suit. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the most wealthiest man in the world or you're the biggest collector in the world. You're not going to turn your nose up at how elegant this watch looks. Yeah, so this wasn't a watch that I intended to buy, but because of where I was and the condition I was under, it was just such a pleasant, fortunate encounter. One interesting point when I was chatting to the lady at the shop was that I was saying to her, you know, about watches and what Chinese watch industries are, so forth. And she had this sort of off-the-cuff comment, you know, she goes, anything sort of under 5,000 US or Australian dollars, we probably made those watches. Now, she was probably slightly exaggerating there, but I would imagine that to be somewhat partially true, because the reality is we just don't know what is actually made, because how loose this, you know, Swiss made or US made, UK made, all of these are, because it's all in the wording, right? If this watch had a Swiss name on it, this will be $1,500 again, easy. If you're typing Shanghai Watch, if you're using Google, their website won't come up, because in China, obviously Google is banned and their website is not featured in Google search and what have you. So you have to use Bing or Yahoo and it will pop up. And their website is shwatch.cn. For those of you interested in that, go and have a look at it and you'll see the crazy prices. Some of the watches have the crazy prices, and then you'll see also some much more affordable pieces there. Because a lot of us use Google, we're typing Shanghai Watch, a lot of the posts will come up. A lot of will be linking to resellers or to AliExpress. But just word of advice, I've actually been to their actual boutique. Their cheapest watch there will probably still be $300 Australian and up. So if you're seeing any watch that's being sold for $50, $40, $100, it's not going to be authentic. And because the price point that this is, it sort of defeats the purpose if you actually don't buy it from the original website and pay what the sticker price is, minus maybe 5-10% discount. In fact, I will probably say, if you go to Shanghai, buy the oldest watch brand, that is Shanghai Watch, at one of their boutiques in Shanghai, and you got a beautiful memory for a timepiece. Thank you for watching.